If you're taking GED Social Studies, then you should know that you may get questions on basic economics. So in this video, I'm going to cover the basic concepts that you should know for the GED, and we're going to go over some practice questions together to help make what you learn stick. Please note that economics is really complicated and I'm not an expert, but I want to teach you the main things that you need to know and should know for the GED. So let's get started here. And first, what is economics? Well, a common misconception is that economics is all about learning how to make money, or how to run a business, or manage finance, or predict the stock market. And understanding economics might help you with the business, or help with finance, or help you understand the stock market, but really that's not what economics is all about. Very simply put, economics is about scarcity. And scarcity means that there's not enough for everyone. So a good definition of economics is that economics is the study of the use of scarce resources which have alternative uses. And an economist named Lionel Robbins said that. And so let's jump in here with an example to help illustrate this. So meet Mark. Mark wants to rent a lake house for a family vacation. But when he looks at the prices, he realizes the prices are too high for him to afford. A lot of people would love to rent a lake house, but there just aren't that many lake houses available in the world to rent. Since there's high demand but few houses, the people who own the houses can charge a lot of money to rent them out. So in other words, there's a scarce supply of lake houses, but the demand is high. And this brings us to a fundamental concept in economics: supply and demand. Now, supply and demand, it's a very critical concept that you should understand, and I'm going to introduce two general rules of thumb that go along with supply and demand. The first is that people tend to buy more at lower prices and less at higher prices. And the second rule of thumb is that seller or producers tend to supply more at higher prices and less at lower prices. I should say sellers. So it should say sellers or producers tend to supply more at higher prices and less at lower prices. So note that supply and demand is related to price. Now, you can think of price like a messenger, right? So prices are like messengers that tell you either good or bad news. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say that you're out shopping for clothes and you see a shirt you want, but you see the price is too high and you decide it's not worth the price. Now suppose a lot of other people also decide that the shirt isn't worth the price. If many customers decide that the price of the shirt is too high, then which of the following will most likely be true? A, the demand for the shirts will be high, or B, the demand for the shirts will be low. So pause the video and think about this. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to think about this. The answer here is B. The demand for the shirts is low. So remember, people tend to buy more at lower prices and less at higher prices. Since fewer people are buying, the supply is going to remain high. But the stores will lose money on the shirts unless they lower the price to something that people are willing to pay. So now let's say that the store lowers the price and now more people decide to buy the shirts. So here's another question for you. If the store lowers the price of the shirts to a price that many people are willing to pay, which of the following will most likely be true? A, the demand for the shirts will be low. B, the demand for the shirts will be high. Again, you can pause the video, think about this, and we'll go over it. Okay, so the answer here is B. If the store lowers the price, the demand is most likely to go up, which is why B is the correct answer. Okay, so now this time, suppose that at the lower price, many people start buying the shirts. What will happen to the supply eventually if this continues? Now for this, please assume that the store isn't getting in any new shipments. So it's either A, the supply will become low, or B, the supply will become high. So go ahead and pause the video, think about this, and we'll go over it. Okay, so the answer here is A, the supply will become low, and will possibly even sell out. So if a lot of people start buying the shirts and the store doesn't get in a new shipment, there's going to be few left. Okay, here's another one. And it's really important to try these practice questions here because this is going to help you, number one, test if you're understanding the material that I'm presenting or not, but it's also going to help make the material stick. Alright, so that being said, here's the next question for you. If the demand for the shirts remains high, but the supply is low, which change will the store most likely make to the price? A. The store will lower the price, or B. The store will raise the price. Go ahead, think about this, and we'll go over it. Okay, so the answer here is B. The store will raise the price. Now, in general, the price of goods tend to go up when the supply goes down. So know that as a general rule of thumb. So now let's look at some other terms that are important to note for the test. So the first one is capital. So capital is anything that can produce income. So for example, a lake house, right? The owner of a lake house can rent the lake house out to other people and they can make an income from that. Another example of capital is simply money. So businesses are going to invest money to create goods and services which they can go on to sell to make an income. Now the actual work people do, which converts the capital and materials into products and services, is called labor. So here's another term to file away in the back of your mind. So let me give you another example now. So consider a car company. Car companies invest capital to build warehouses and storefronts. And then they have to hire employees. And then they have to buy car parts to build the cars with. And the materials and the parts of the cars are what we would call producer goods. Now on the other hand, the cars themselves, once they're ready to be sold, are what we would call consumer goods. Now note that the sellers are going to bring their goods and services to the buyers through markets. And simply put, markets are systems that match the seller's goods and services to people seeking to purchase them. Again, remember, people tend to buy more at lower prices and less at higher prices. So now suppose someone, now let's call her Anne, is shopping for a new hat. Now Anne goes to a shopping mall, and if one store sells the hat that Anne wants for $30, but another store in the same mall is going to sell that same exact hat for only $20, logically, where do you think Anne is going to buy it? Assuming that price is the only factor here, it's logical that Anne's going to buy the hat at the lowest price possible. Now, maybe if she's in a hurry or something like that, or the line's too long at the store that's selling it for $20, then perhaps she'd spend the extra money to go with a store selling it for $30. But the point here is that generally people are going to want to pay the lowest price possible for something. And this leads to competition in the marketplace. So note that sellers and producers, they have to compete with each other to provide the best deal for the customers. So consumers, that's another way of saying customers basically. But note here that this isn't just about price. So sellers and producers, sometimes they're going to compete to give the lower price, but that's not always the case. So for example, consider Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Now, coffee is cheaper at Dunkin' Donuts, at least the last time I checked. But some people might still go to Starbucks because maybe they like the taste better, or they like the customer service, or the music, or the general atmosphere at Starbucks better. Personally, I like Dunkin' Donuts the best, and that's probably where I would go if I had a choice, but, you know, that's just me. But the point here is that some people are going to want to buy based off of price, but some people might be willing to pay a higher price if they like Starbucks better than Dunkin' Donuts, for example. And I want you to take away from this little example here that sellers and producers are going to have to compete to give the best deal to their customers. So another topic that you might get questions about is retail versus wholesale. So retail is when the customer buys directly a good or service that they want. And wholesale is when a business buys a good or service. So here's another question for you. Suppose that a farmer sells produce to a grocery store, which sells the produce to Ralph. Assume that Ralph is an average person who often buys produce from the store. Who is the wholesaler in this example? Is it A, the farmer, B, the grocery store, or C, Ralph? So you know the drill by now. Pause the video, try this out, and then we'll go over it. Okay, so the answer here, it's A, it's the farmer. So remember, wholesaling is when a business or retailer buys a good or service. And here, the farmer is selling his produce to the grocery store. And the store then sells it to Ralph. So the farmer is the wholesaler. Now, here's another example. Suppose this time that Ralph purchases oranges at the grocery store. What kind of business is the grocery store an example of? Is it A, retail, or B, wholesale? So again, pause the video, think about it, and we'll go over it. Okay, so the answer here is A, retail. Here, the grocery store is directly selling the oranges to Ralph. Ralph's buying right from the grocery store, so this is an example of retail. So another situation or scenario that may arise on the GED social studies for economics questions could just be graphs. So I put together some practice questions here with graphs here. So let me first read what's going on in the graph here. So it says this is US retail prices for gasoline in 2021. And this is from ELA.gov where I got the information. So the question I'd like you to pause the video and try to answer is, which of the following months had a gas price lower than $3 per gallon? A, December, B, August, or C, March? So let's see if you can come up with the right answer here. So go ahead and pause the video and try it now. So the right answer here is C, March. And a good way to approach this question, this is pretty much just a test of do you know how to read graphs or not? And what you want to do here, or at least one way to approach it, would be to first look at December. So let's go down here in the months and let's find December. So right here is December. So now I want to look directly above December and find the graph. Okay, so I found the graph, and so now what I want to do is I just kind of want to visualize. So I'm going to draw an arrow here, but obviously you can't do it on the test, but just find December on the graph and just kind of visualize a line all the way over to our y-axis, or the axis that's going up and down here. All right, so if my line's right here, we can see that the price in dollars per gallon in December was something between $3 and $4, but it looks like it was closer to $3, right? So obviously December did not have a lower price than $3 per gallon. So we can do the same thing for August. So we find August down here, look directly above it. All right, so again, I drew this arrow here, but this is really kind of what you want to look with your eyes on the test. Look at August, find it, go right up, find the point on the graph here, then just go right over, imagine a straight line right over here. And if we do that, we would see that the value for August would be a little bit above $3. All right, so for March, we can just simply look at March, look straight up here, and we can see if we look right over here with our eyes that March corresponds to a value that is lower than $3. So that's why that is the right answer. Okay, here's another question. Which conclusion is supported by the data on the graph? A, as the price of cans of soda rises, then Ralph buys fewer cans, this should say. As the price of soda rises, Ralph buys fewer cans. Or B, as the price of cans of soda rises, Ralph buys more cans. So what's going on here is on the graph. Let me explain the graph real quick in case it's hard to read for you, and then I'll let you pause the video and try to figure this out. But we see here on the graph Ralph's soda purchases per month. Now, I say soda, I'm from the East. Some people in other places say pop, especially in the Midwest, and some people just say Coke, depending on where you live. Even if you're talking about a Mountain Dew or another soda, some people would just say Coke, some people say pop, some people say soda. I wanted to try to include everybody here, but to make the data a little bit cleaner to present, I just wrote soda here. So bear with me here if you're from a region where you say something besides soda, but basically, on the x-axis here, we see the number of cans of soda. We see 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then on our y-axis over here, we see the price per can of soda. And again, here's the question here. Which conclusion is supported by the data on the graph? So you can pause the video, try to figure it out, and then we're going to go over it. Okay, so let's go over it. So here the correct answer is A. He buys 6 cans when the price is $1, and he buys 8 when the price is 50 cents. So then we can also think about this critically, and we can say that as the price goes up, he's also going to buy fewer cans. So that's why A is the right answer. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you for watching, and there's other videos on my channel to help you with GED Social Studies. Feel free to check those out and subscribe if you like this video. Good luck on the test.